Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I just found this magazine and saw something kind of interesting in it, so I thought I'd share it. It's the Literary Digest from April 17th, 1937. And I still have my cold, sorry. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I just saw this one article about lengthening your life, and I thought we should all probably look at that so we know how to live a long time. But there is like this dispute. They were going to build the Jefferson Monument in Washington, D.C., and there was a dispute over the architect, and they talk about how people think it's a waste to just make a monument, and they should make it a hall where they could do inaugurations. But then they talk about how 25 years earlier, there was the same kind of fight about the Lincoln Memorial, and that people didn't think they should make a big memorial, that they should just make a road that has Lincoln's name on it, because it would be more practical and useful. But they built the memorial, which, by the way, is an amazing thing to see. If you've not been to Washington, D.C., it's on the reflecting pool, I forget what they call that, where the cherry blossoms are, and it's just this huge statue of Lincoln sitting in a chair. It's really amazing. So that's kind of interesting. And then this is about Henry Ford not wanting to deal with John Lewis and the unions, and that Chrysler and GM had both started dealing with the unions, and Ford was absolutely not doing that. And it's kind of about that. And this shows strikers in Cleveland prepare for a friendly conference, and they show these guys with sticks behind their back. It got real messy. People were killed during all that. I don't know about the auto union ones, but I know, like, with the steel, the Frick, the Carnegie and Frick, that's a whole story too. Anyway, so I didn't look at all this, but Cuban dictator combats unrest. Oh, this is about the coronation of King George and how they cut it short, and they say to conserve King George's strength, British officials last week lopped a full hour from the historic coronation ceremony scheduled for May 12th, bringing it down to 2 hours. I don't really know what was wrong with his health, because he was the one, his older brother. I'm not a royal expert, I don't know, but I feel like his older brother, what was his name? But he wanted to marry the divorced American woman. Is that right? And so he abdicated the throne, and then George became king. And he was king from 37 until Queen Elizabeth II was coronated in the 50s. I don't remember what year. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why I'm sort of interested in all that royal stuff, but they show them putting the, fancy duds together and everything. Nazi African ills. So this would have been pre-World War II, but the Nazis were starting to, get stronger at that time, I think. Quarrel in Quebec. Communism fought by law in Canadian province. I don't know anything about that. Talk it over. High Japanese suicide rate is reduced by society. Well, that's a truth always, isn't it? Being able to talk to people. Frantic Franco. Stung by Italian taunts, he acts and treads on British toes. Christine Dunn's IQ floored scientist. Where's that one? Proud mothers and fathers around the country gasped when 28-month-old Christine Dunn, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence T. Dunn of Bonne Terre, Missouri, I don't think I said that right, was found to have an intelligence quotient of 185. This is 48 points higher than the mark normally identified with genius. Dr. John P. Naff, head of Washington University Department of Psychology, made the discovery. Wow, I wonder what happened to her. To see, I have this feeling that when kids are very, very smart, or even like, what's that word when you, I can't think of it, but anyway, like when you graduate college when you're 13, I don't just have this feeling. I knew a kid who did that. He graduated college, I think he was like 15. And he said it was not a good thing for him because he wasn't really mature enough or old enough to join the real world workforce. People just thought he was a kid because he was. And then pretty quickly, all the people who would have been his peers, but he was ahead of, caught up to him. And then he was just like everybody else, but he hadn't had the fun of childhood, you know. He was working hard all the time studying. So I'm not ever quite sure this is the best. I'm sure it works out sometimes where they just get such a head start. I don't know. It is pretty amazing, like when you see kids who can play instruments when they're like little with like soul. It's kind of amazing. Oh, here's the article. Science and medicine, lifespan increase held probable. Back in 1920, a scientist began feeding table salt, powdered milk, and number 1 Kansas red wheat to a family of albino rats. Those rats, he thought, might teach human beings how to live longer more buoyantly. Today, the scientist filing cabinets contain the life histories of some 65,000 descendants of that original rat family, which lived, ate, and gave up its pink-eyed ghost to the science of nutrition. Now, already I'm having a problem with this experiment because this means they're all from the same genetics. So maybe they're just sort of longer lived. And they're living in a sheltered environment. Okay, let's see what they say. Last week, Dr. Henry Sherman Mitchell, professor of chemistry at Columbia University, told the Academy of Medicine in New York City that his rats had shown how to increase the span of human life by 10%. There are no ifs and, it doesn't say if, ands, or buts. It says ifs and buts about it. Well, I just learned something. See, it says there are no if and buts about it. I always thought it was there are no if, ands, or buts. If human beings are being ate as sagely as Dr. Sherman's rats, I keep reading. If human beings ate as sagely as Dr. Sherman's rats, human adult life expectancy would increase from 70 to 77 years. Okay, what do we have to do? Formula for longevity. His formula for lengthening life is simple. Increase the proportion of milk, vegetables, and fruit in the diet. These are the so-called protective foods. I mean, it's not terrible. I know a lot of people don't like milk. I actually drink a lot of milk. I like milk. No food faddist. Dr. Sherman has no rigid diet schedule to propose. A fairly high percentage of these protective foods, plus grain products of which a moderate proportion should be of the whole or slightly milled varieties, plus liberal quantities of milk or milk products, are the essentials of his diet. Meats and sweets are not prescribed. If enough of the protective foods are consumed, the balance of the required calories can be regulated by the appetite. Okay, I will say if you eat whole grains, like they say whole or slightly milled varieties of grain products. They call that nature's Ozempic, and I'm telling you, it works. I've been eating like farro and barley and other whole grains, that Ezekiel bread, and it just kind of keeps you full, and you don't get like that hunger stuff. I'm not giving nutrition advice. I don't. I'm just speaking to what I've done. Anyway, all right, So he's definitely giving them a lot. Fed meals of 5/6 ground whole wheat and 1/6 dried whole milk. His rats live good average lives. With the milk proportion stepped up, giving the laboratory animals 2/3 ground whole wheat and 1/3 dried whole milk, the average lifespan increased. See, this is weird because rats are so different from humans as far as like needing grains and milk and protein. I'm not sure we can compare these things. What was the cliche we heard the other day about not comparing apples and oranges? Anyway, the additional lifespan of rats fed on this diet amounted to approximately 2 months, roughly equivalent to 5 or 6 years of human life. Okay, there you go. So let's see, what else do we have here? For general purposes, increasing the proportion of milk in the diet should add to the length of life. Boy, I bet a lot of people nowadays would say, no. Especially if it's whole milk with fat. I don't know. Milk important. The even more important why do I sometimes have trouble with the word? Liberality of intake of calcium and vitamins A, C, and G. What's vitamin G? G as in Greg Goobly Gup. G, vitamin G. I don't even know if there is still vitamin. Is easily and economically secured by taking a moderately high percentage of the needed calories in the form of milk, fruits, vegetables, and eggs. Oh, he's added eggs now. So he's basically saying lots of protein. Milk supplies all 4 of the chemical factors just mentioned. Fruits generally, vegetables as a group, and eggs may each be regarded as fairly good source of some 2 or the 4 factors. Okay, so then I didn't really read that. Let's see. Right here, drink heavy water. Heavy water, it says. A bit on the Wellsian side, I guess that's Orwell. No, I'm not sure, but anyway. But with an intriguing basis of scientific fact is the recent statement of Dr. James E. Kendall of Edinburgh University that men and women will soon be able to add 10 years to their lives by drinking heavy water. That is, water with an overweight hydrogen atom, discovery of which won the Nobel Prize for Professor Harold C. Urey, Dr. Sherman's Columbia co-worker. This sounds like the beginning of selling bottled water. Heavy water would behave in the system like ordinary water, a few degrees lower in temperature, Dr. Kendall explained. In other words, a person drinking heavy water would be living only half as fast as a person drinking ordinary water. That claim sounds dubious to me. But heavy water is costly, available only in limited laboratory quantities. For the individual gunning for those extra 10 years of buoyant life, Dr. Sherman's milk, fruit, and vegetables seem to be the most available ammunition. All right, if anybody knows what they're talking about with this heavy water, do share, because we're all going to have to start drinking it. Can we just warm our water? Add 10 years by drinking heavy water. It says it has an overweight hydrogen atom. What? I don't know. Okay. I guess that's it. So that's how we live longer. What are they talking about? Sweet potatoes to adhesive. They're talking about making adhesives out of sweet potatoes. Well, that seems like a good idea. As well as high quality laundry starch and sizing for paper and yarn. Huh. Seems like a good thing. Anyway, that's all I really want to share for you, but we can flip through the rest of this. Clues to cancer. Well, back then, quit smoking. Chief weapon in fighting cancer is early detection of malignancy. That's still true. Let's see. The 10 golden rules. Examine the lips, tongue, cheeks, tonsils, and pharynx. Examine the skin of the face, body, and extremities for bleeding, warts, black moles, and unhealed scars. Examine basically everything they still do, really. I guess that hasn't changed much. Science snaps. What's this? Tears. The onion and the garlic, long social exiles, have at last found friends. Scientists working at the University of Southern California have discovered germ-killing powers in the very chemical that brings tears to the eyes. The germ killer from onions is aldehyde. That form, garlic, is the less poisonous cartonic aldehyde. Tests are now underway to determine their usefulness in combating disease caused by germs. I remember when I was kind of crunchy, I would take whole garlic cloves in the winter and basically swallow them whole. I'd crunch them up, with a garlic press and put them in some honey and swallow them whole. And to keep myself healthy. And one day my kid, oh no, I know what else. I was eating those roasted garlic things from the salad bar. They're delicious. And my son came up to me and sat on my lap. He was little, 3. And he goes, "Mommy, you stink." And my husband goes, "You do. I didn't want to tell you." So I had to cut out all the garlic. That's the only problem with that. Ring. Human teeth, much like trees, have birth rings in them, according to Dr. Isaac Schauer. This neonatal ring is said to be a definite biological landmark in the history of the individual. Other marks on the teeth, the significant which are not yet understood, are being investigated. Yeah, I think in those rings you can see if there was a forest fire that year or a drought. They've learned a lot about that. Camouflage. Experiments at the University of Minnesota led to the discovery that the syrups of cacao, chocolate, and raspberry are the most popular and effective flavoring agents for killing an unpleasant taste. Next are syrups of orange, cherry, sarsaparilla, and citric acid. Raspberry disguises bitter best. Cinnamon disguises salty best. I wonder why then in the 70s they made every medicine taste like nasty cherry flavor. Long distance rate reduction. All right, I better go get back to work. I took a break from work to look at that before I should get back. The tragedy of a wheat crop that wasn't. Albert West and thousands of brother farmers this year faced the greatest grasshopper scourge since that of 48. 48? So they mean 1848 because this is from 19. Oh boy, these guys didn't get a break. So they had the Dust Bowl and they had grasshoppers. Being a farmer is the hardest job. I really think it's got to be the most difficult job and stressful. I don't know. I'm not a baseball. That's Bob Feller of Iowa. Farm boy who may be, at 18, baseball's 1937 pitching sensation. I'm not familiar with that. Sports shorts. This guy is Clarence DeMar, 49-year-old marathoner, loops between home and office to keep him racing trim. And he's wearing his work suit out running. I bet people thought he was crazy. That's funny. Manufacturers have designed miniature reed organs with as many as 4 octaves, responding to the touch of the musically inclined youngster. Fun. Gem razor blades. Ride a bike and enjoy Chesterfields. They satisfy. Boy, that is adorable. I want everything except the cigarettes. I want this little thing. I want to be riding on this road out in the middle of the country. I want to sit here. I like everything about it. Except we don't need to smoke anymore. Cute. Well, all right, guys. I just wanted to show you that. I don't know why. It just seemed funny to me. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.